Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Rolling.
We're rolling, YouTube. We be rolling. Professor, like a gentleman. Are you ready, sir?
Let's go. I got a couple hours to fill.
In 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 77. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella Titanium.
Professor, how are you, sir?
Good. First, we want to apologize to the fans for a slight delay in programming. Simply, hey, look, it's that time of year. We got family vacations. We had 4th of July.
4th of July, big holiday.
People in town, out of town, schedules conflicting, parties to go to, fireworks to see.
Hangovers to take care of.
Yeah, drinks to drink, food to eat. Look, it's
lips to rip. I mean, I fished my ass off last weekend, so yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's worth it.
Yes.
But in fairness to our audience, Titanium and I are taking on a monumental effort here. We are going to be giving you 2 episodes in short haste. So we'll be we decided to do 2 episodes. We'll do an episode here, episode 77. We're going to focus on Ms. Marvel and The Boys.
Yep.
So we'll tackle those 2 in episode 77, and then we'll reset everything. We'll have a time jump.
Yep.
And then we'll go to episode 78. We're going to give you our full review of Thor: Love and Thunder, and we'll tackle some news items and things like that. So hey, we're going to make it up to the audience. We're going to give you a couple episodes. We got some time to fill and some other vacation coming up and things like that. That's going to throw the schedule off. But hey, we're gonna do our best.
We'll do our best. Yep.
We got and the good news is we have a lot to talk about, and we really can't put it in one episode. So we really need to do 2 episodes to cover it all.
I think you're right. We do have a lot to talk about, and I like the way we're doing this. I will get these put together and put out as soon as I can. Yep.
Great, and hey, watch them. Especially watch the commercials. They're the best part of every episode, right?
Yeah. So for episode 77, we're going to get into spoilers. Obviously, if you haven't seen Ms. Marvel, but I'll be shocked if you have. Nobody has. And then we're going to get into some spoilers of The Boys. So we're going to do 2 episodes of The Boys, including the finale, which was absolutely spectacular. So. Let's get into it, Professor.
All right, before we get started, let's thank the listeners that bring the show to the audience, and those are our patrons. Patreon.com/supertalk is how you become a member of the Patreon. You can support the show directly, donate $1 every time we come up with an episode, and you help support the show. And we take everything that patrons give us and put it right back into this production here. So thank you for those of you that joined. If you want to join, go to patreon.com/supertalk.
Yep. Thank you so much.
All right, well, let's jump right into it, and why not? We'll do the first review that we'll talk about is Ms. Marvel. We had 2 episodes since our last show, episodes 4 and 5 now. We've gone through 5 episodes of Ms. Marvel, and so you and I were briefly discussing this a little bit last night. Look. This show is becoming more and more difficult for me to watch.
Yeah.
And we have been, I think, very consistent early on when we heard about this show, when we saw the first trailers, when we understood what they were doing and how they were changing the character and the character's background and history and the powers. We had some doubts. We had some doubts on if we would like it. We had some doubts on whether or not we were the target audience. And then the doubts that we had really were sent more towards, hey, maybe they're looking to go after kind of the tweens, the Hannah Montana generation. They're trying to get some younger people to get interested in Marvel superheroes and the comic books. We're like, okay. And I don't think that's what they were doing at all, now that I've watched it. I think the good news is I think I figured out exactly what this show is.
Oh, good. Well, That's great news.
Yeah, not that I like it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I know what the show is.
I get it, but what is this show, Professor?
So the show is a story about a Muslim American teenage girl and her discovery of her family and her family's history and how it plays into the history of India and the separation of India and the creation of the country of Pakistan and her family's journey to Pakistan and how it affected her and her family across multiple generations. And oh, by the way, she might have a little bit of superpowers.
Right.
So that's what the show is. The show is really a deep dive into Muslim American Pakistani culture and the history behind that and how they came to America and eventually, how their culture affects their lives and how it's affecting this young teenage girl specifically and her learning more about her family and her family's history throughout the show. And oh, by the way, she found a bangle and it gave her a little bit of superpowers. That's what the show's about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you would have given me that show premise and concept whether I really would have been very interested in watching that show. It's just not something that interests me.
Right.
Had you said it's about a Pakistani Muslim teenage girl who's a superhero and we're going to sprinkle a little bit of culture in there, hey, great. But I think it was the exact opposite.
But, yeah, I agree with you. And that's the way it was sold to us. A Pakistani Muslim American young girl coming of age who has superpowers. And these last 2 episodes were extremely slow. The story was weak at best. It dragged on. It was, especially this last episode, was extremely boring. I paused it several times to try to find something to do so I didn't have to finish it. But it was extremely boring. She's a great actress. I've been saying that the whole time. She's a great actress, and I love the graphics. But this is completely. These last 2 episodes lost me, man. Like, it left me at the corner and kept driving. It dropped me off and kept driving, and I don't know where it's going or what they think that ride is going to be like for the rest of the listeners and the rest of the people that are watching it. But it's just not fun. At least the first couple of episodes had this quirky, poppy, humoristic, great graphics, really kind of...
And it was teenage-oriented. They were in high school dealing with high school problems and boys and girls and fighting with people.
It turns... And nothing wrong with being serious and kind of jumping into those topics that are very meaningful and digging into that culture and getting a show that represents the Pakistani Indian culture the way that it has done. But, I thought this was a superhero show. And you had said something earlier. She used her powers how many times in the last episodes? Twice, and for like 3 seconds?
30 seconds each.
Yeah, I mean...
And it was a 45-minute show.
Brutal. I mean, it was brutal. It was hard to watch. I'm really hoping they close strong with this show and get back to where it started with some of it. It wasn't good in the very beginning, I felt, but at least it was watchable. This has become, as our friend Sean Kelly would say, unwatchable.
These last 2 episodes specifically have been extremely difficult to watch because, again, it was so mired in the culture of Pakistan, and as a matter of fact, it took both these episodes took place in Pakistan. So at the end of episode 3, she's on the phone with her grandmother when she had gotten the vision of the train. When through the bangle gave her this vision of the train, her grandmother saw it as well and said, "Oh, did you see the train? Did you see? You have to come to Pakistan." And then at the beginning of episode 4, they're on a plane to Pakistan, her and her mother, and I'm like, this is the mother that doesn't want her to do anything, that doesn't let her do anything, go anywhere. That's
now
suppressing
she's all
her.
Understanding.
Now all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's jump on a plane and go see your grandmother, who the mother has obviously had a bad relationship with as well. That didn't make any sense. And all of a sudden they're in Karachi, Pakistan, and go hang out and be with your cousins. And then the cousins are just like, oh, you're in a foreign country. We got things to do. See you later. And just let her walk off and go be on her own.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Well, look, I'm going to we'll surmise this a little bit. Episode 4 really dealt with Karachi, Pakistan. Kamala meets the Red Dagger organization, who is really there to, I guess there's some organization that's fighting against the jinns and their desire to open the portal to their world. And we learn about this other world that they're from, and there's this veil that protects our world from their world, and if the veil were to come down, their world would consume our world completely. So we learn all about that, and we see and all of a sudden, Cameron's family, his mother and the other jinn, are all of a sudden now in Karachi as well, and they're hunting down Kamala. How convenient that they're there. And they're chasing her, and at the end of the episode, Cameron's mother tries to stab Kamala, and it hits the bracelet, and it sends Kamala back in time. And now she's back in 1940s, or late 1940s Pakistan, or that's where she's back in time. And that's how the episode ended. Okay. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about episode 4?
Negative. Nope.
All right.
Don't want to waste another minute on it.
And then episode 5, she's back in time. She basically is back in 1948 Pakistan, is when the great exodus of people leaving India, the Muslims leaving India to go to Pakistan after the separation. And we meet her mother. No, not her mother. Not her grandmother. Her great-grandmother. Yeah. We meet her again, Aisha. We see her again, the one who originally had the bangle. She stumbles upon this farming village in the middle of nowhere where this guy is growing roses, and they fall in love, and they have a baby.
It's like the bangle is forced. It's almost like the bangle, it's so out of place. The powers in this story is so disconnected. It's awful. I mean, it's so disconnected. She's a great actress, but I mean, not even.
Well, she wasn't even in much of this episode. So it's really about her great grandmother. They have a baby, which obviously becomes her grandmother. They're then forced to leave. Cameron's mother comes and finds that she's there. It's like, oh, where's the bangle? And she's like, oh, I hid it. We have to leave right now. We have to go get on the train. And they try to escape. And big surprise, the daughter gets lost, or her grandmother, the daughter gets lost in the trains. And who's there to help her find her father? It's Kamala. She's the one who created the stars that her grandmother talked about. It was a story. She was back in time, and she fixed it. We find out that that's how her great grandmother brought her there. Theoretically, that's how she kind of asked her to come there, and found out that she could use her magic without the bangle, which was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And then she saves the little girl, but her great grandmother dies. And then she gets sent back in time again, back forward in time, back to present day. And now there's a rift in the veil, and it's spilling out into our world. And she tries to use her powers to close it, and she can't. And then the other two jinn, Kamran's mom, and one of the other ones tries to walk through the veil, the opening in the veil. They get completely disintegrated. But when Kamran's mother tries to do it, she's like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And as she's getting disintegrated, she yells Kamran's name, and all of a sudden some form of energy flows into Kamran half a world away and imbues him with similar powers, something like that. We don't know. The veil closes. They're able to get the veil closed, and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And then Kamran shows up to Bruno, and he says, I need your help. And the damage control is hunting him, and one of the drones finds him, and he shoots it with his new powers, and the episode ends. I don't know, dude. I have no idea. The drone
accidentally fires a rocket and destroys the Quick Mart where Bruno lives above, but
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. I don't know where this show's going. I have no idea what's happening. I don't know how it ties into everything else. And again, at this point in time, it's so difficult for me to watch. Yeah. Like, it really is. It's hard for me to get through because it's not going anywhere, and very little of what they're covering is is of interest to me because it's such a deviation from what I know about the character.
Yeah.
And I don't
That's
know
the
how
biggest
this
problem I
character
have.
fits into the larger picture of the MCU and what the future of this character is and what her powers are going to end up being. I mean, how many more do we have? We have one or two? Do we know how many total episodes there are?
Character supporting act. The character supporting type of role. It's not a show lead. This is a C plus, B minus, at most B minus. But I would say a C plus character in Marvel, and they structured a show around it. It's just not working. I don't know how many more episodes. I hope only one. I think, is there 6?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's 6. So I'm hoping
The next one's the finale. We're hoping the next one's the finale.
Yeah, I hope so.
I just don't know where they're going with this. So who knows what the ending of this is going to be and where it's going. And we've been told a lot of things. I really don't understand it. What I think what they're alluding to now is that the bangle is not the source of her powers. It's just gateway to the powers, and then eventually she's going to learn that she has this power within her and she doesn't need the bangle anymore. I think we're going to get to that point eventually.
Let's get to it. Let's
Yeah.
get the show over.
Right.
I don't think we need to waste any more time with this. We'll review the last episode, hopefully the next
I hope that we have some conclusion at the end of this of what they're doing with this character and where it's. I mean, we understand. Look, Marvel's got plans for this character. We've already seen this character in other content that Marvel's developing, which we'll talk about next episode. But we know that this character is going to be in the Marvel's movie. At least we assume it is. I safely can say right now, this is the least favorite thing that Marvel has ever put out, ever, from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors out there.
I would rather watch Thor: The Dark World than this.
Ouch! Wow.
Yeah,
that's a statement.
Yeah,
Jeez.
That's like probably one of the lowest on my rated movies list.
Mine too, but you're right. Yeah,
I would rather watch that.
Yeah. Wow.
Agree.
I agree. This isn't good.
So I just don't know.
People aren't watching it either. It's the lowest watched show that Marvel has put out so far. So I don't know where the reviews are coming from. I think people are kind of in that.
And I think they missed something here. I think this could have been a superhero character that would have identified with a lot of younger people. I think this is a superhero character that would have been a hero to many young women, especially.
But it did need its own show. This is a supporting character in Marvel. This is not a lead character. It's a C plus character that they gave its own show and expected big things from. I think they should have introduced this character in Miss Marvel. I think it would have still had the same impact culture-wise. They didn't need to go.
You mean the Marvels movie?
The Marvels, yeah, the Marvels in the next Miss Marvel, the Marvels movie. Yeah, I think they should have introduced her there instead of having her own show. So anyway, we're moving on.
Let's go on to the next subject, which we do want to talk about, and that's our review of Episode 7 and Episode 8, the finale of The Boys. And this is brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio GG Studios, home of the man band, Corn on the Cob.
Hope everything's good down at the studio because we need some new content from you guys. So I hope you're spending your summer wisely and making some new stuff for us. So
yeah, we got some new graphics, especially for our 100th episode. I got a really kick-ass start of the YouTube show for the 100th.
That's probably going to happen before we know it, right?
December.
Oof.
I think I marked it out for December. Yeah.
Oof. All right. So let's get into it. So we got the last 2 episodes of The Boys. Episode 7 came out just after our last show, and then we had the finale, was just released last night, officially released today. We have seen it because we couldn't wait to watch it. So let's get into this. So there's some big time events that occurred in both episodes and have lasting repercussions across the series and the characters as we move forward into the next season, which we know has been greenlit, which we know they are going to start filming here shortly, and hopefully will be out next summer. Cross our fingers if things go well.
I'm hoping they introduce some new characters, like some new superheroes. It seems like the 7 is definitely dwindling. They got to introduce a bunch of new.
By my count, the 7 is down to 3 now.
Yeah, right. You got the Deep, A-Train, Homelander. That's it, right? By the way, major spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, pause us after watching a commercial. Pause us and come back to us. So after you watch it, but major spoilers.
We'll get into episode 7 first.
Yeah.
So this was, we got the Herogasm episode, the prior episode, and so we pick up right after that. And,
is that your favorite episode so far?
Oh yeah. Well, the fight scene in that was just off the chains.
Yeah.
And we got a good one in the finale too, which we'll talk about. But the kind of the aftermath of that, we kind of get in this episode. Butcher and Huey and Soldier Boy, they're kind of like reeling a little bit from what happened at Herogasm, but they kind of, hey, oh my God, we killed hundreds of people, and but we got the twins, and we're kind of still going after Homelander, and they were upset that they didn't get Homelander during that battle, but they said this still has to happen, and they're still on the rampage. We've got Homelander walks in, so we understood that Maeve was going to some rehab facility, but we find out that she's being kept prisoner in the quiet room inside of Vought headquarters, and Homelander walks in there.
Top security vault in
Vault. It's the room that Homelander used to get sent to when he was a kid, when he was being bad.
Right.
So he knew about this. It was a very high security room. So that's where they're keeping Maeve. But he walks in there, and man, what a disturbing scene he has with her, and basically says, she's like, "Why don't you just kill me?" And he's like, "No. I'm not going to kill you." He's like, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to harvest your eggs, because I've always wanted a family. So we're going to harvest your eggs, and we're going to make some children, super babies, between you and me. And it was like, oh my God, this guy is just... And she's like, oh my God, I don't know what she just wants him to kill her or whatever, right? And anyway, so we find that out. That was a disturbing scene. Kimiko has come to the realization that she wants her powers back.
Yeah, and she feels like I'm a monster with or without my powers, but at least with my powers I can protect you. You're my family now, Frenchie. Yeah.
Right. So her and Frenchie and Frenchie, no, monsieur, what do you mean? Right. And so like,
mon ami.
Yeah, mon cher, no, we're gonna go off to the French Riviera. But Kimiko asked Starlight to get her some Compound V. And Starlight said, well, what? Why? I thought you didn't want your powers anymore. She's like, no, I need them back. I need them. It's how I'm protecting my family, who are Frenchie and the boys now.
Yeah, it was a touching moment there. That was pretty powerful.
We got a whole kind of side plot with Black Noir. We know that he had left Vought and kind of went on the run because he's afraid of Soldier Boy hunting him down. And he ends up going into this, I don't know, old...
like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese that he went to when he was a kid. And there's all these animated characters that he's obviously hallucinating. That's been part of his personality for a long time, and they're all telling the story of him being on payback with Soldier Boy and how Soldier Boy treated the entire team, and especially him. We saw how he got injured, how basically he lost half his brain, and that he got disfigured, and it was Soldier Boy that did it to him. And we do find out that Vought, Stan Edgar, was the one who told the team to take him down and turn him over to the Russians. But he is, I tell you, Black Noir is struggling, like, mentally, but he knows, and basically all of his hallucinations are trying to convince him, look, you need to stand up to him, you need to fight, the only way you're going to get rid of him is by taking him out. So he
needs to take him out. He realizes that. Great character.
So Starlight does go. She does sneak her way back into Vought headquarters, even though she's left the team officially and quit. She does sneak back into Vought headquarters. Does steal some Compound V for Kimiko,
and sees some notes about the
Temp V,
the V24 Temp V, and how deadly it is after multiple uses. I mean, brain lesions,
causes lesions in the brain and seizures, and ultimately death.
Yeah, after the 3 or 5th use, you're in deep shit.
Right, and she's like, holy crap. She calls or tries to call Huey, and Butcher answers the phone, and, she says, look, the stuff will kill you. Like I just read the notes from the doctors. It will kill you. You guys have to stop using this, and you have to tell Huey. And he's like, "All right, mate, I'll take care of it."
Yeah.
Right. And so that we get that revelation, which is huge. We have the whole plot of Soldier Boy and Butcher and Huey hunting. What's it? Mindstorm, right?
Yeah.
So they go into the woods and find Mindstorm is the guy, basically like the Professor X of Payback. Yeah. Has mind.
Well, his powers are when he looks you in the eye, he can
control
your mind and put you in, like freeze your mind and put you in a state of comatose so that you're in your own thoughts and you're trapped there. And he's the only one that can release you. And basically, Soldier Boy says,
don't look him in the eye.
Yeah, don't look him in the eye. And basically, Butcher looks him in the eye and gets screwed. And he puts him back into this dream world. And he says he's done. No one can snap him out of this. And he'll eventually die of starvation and dehydration. He's going to die because he's going to be stuck
effectively in a coma. And he's just going to be sitting here on the ground doing nothing.
The only one that can release him is Mindstorm.
Mindstorm, right?
Mindstorm. And he's like, and that's not happening because I'm about to kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but we get kind of a whole vision of Butcher's history growing up as a kid. He's a teenager. Him and his younger brother. His dad's a real piece of shit. Basically
he's become his father,
and he realizes that his brother was always the one that was looking out for him and trying to keep him on the straight and narrow. And the only thing that was keeping him, kind of normal was his younger brother. And eventually he just decides, screw it, I'm out of here. And he decides to leave, and he leaves his younger brother. And we find out that his younger brother was the one that killed his father. And he only did it because his older brother, Butcher, wasn't there to help him and protect him.
Well, he shoots himself. He commits suicide,
Yeah, and so he's always regretted that, and always,
later on, you see his father telling Butcher, he's like, "You're the one that killed him. You left him. When you left him, you killed him."
Right.
And he's like, "Bullshit. You did with the years of torture." And,
right.
Yeah.
So we get to kind of like the backstory of Butcher and why he's so disturbed and angry. That was all while he was in that coma. But then Soldier Boy and Huey are after Mindstorm. They do trap him in this cabin. And Huey uses his teleportation powers to teleport him over to Butcher and says, "Look, I'm going to let you go. You just got to let my friend out. Get him out of what you ever got him in." So he does let him out. And then Soldier Boy, of course, comes over and then just bashes his face in with it.
Throws a knife from far away that takes out one of his eyes. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Puts a bag over his head and then ends up talking to him and then just kills him. It's so
smashes
brutal.
him in the face with his shield.
I don't know who's worse, Soldier Boy or Homelander. I think Homelander is more of a psychopath, definitely. Soldier Boy is what he is. He's this over machoed kind of just bad
brutal
guy.
Yeah,
just bad guy. But he's not as much of a mental case than Homelander is. I mean, yes, he's disturbed.
Oh, except for the first scene in this episode when they're back at the what's Paul Reiser's character's name in this? It's the Legend.
The Legend.
They're back at the Legend's house, and they go get Soldier Boy, and he's back in a bedroom banging the two old maids that are the housekeepers, and they're like in their 60s. Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, they just
like fine wine. They age with fine wine."
That's so disturbing. Yeah. But anyway, so that they kill Mindstorm. So now the only one left that they have to get is Black Noir, and then ultimately Homelander. But an interesting side note: at the end of this episode, Soldier Boy calls Homelander.
Yeah,
and says, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Vought told me that they had created a new superhero and that they used my DNA to do it, and that was the reason they were able to get rid of me because they had created you. Just want to let you know I'm your father."
Yeah.
It's basically like the Darth Vader moment.
Totally
right?
Fucks with Homelander.
Yeah, he's like,
that's his whole thing. He's always wanted a family,
right.
family.
So he's like, hey, just letting you know that you're my biological son. And Homelander's like, holy crap,
holy shit, yeah.
So that's how the episode ended. So that was episode 7. Great episode.
Great episode.
Then we move into the finale this week, And
so good. My favorite episode besides Herogasm.
Oh, one of the things that happened in episode 7, when Starlight went back to get the Temp V or Compound V for Kimiko, Homelander stopped her as she's getting in the elevator.
Yeah, I love his line. Do you think you can walk? I smelt you as soon as you walked into this building.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, and he's like, look, remember what I told you? That if you didn't do what I said, you didn't listen to me, that Huey, I was coming for you, and he was next. And basically, he was just threatening the whole team, was going to kill everybody. And she was live streaming it the whole time to every one of her, 1.5 million followers, right? So basically, they caught him red-handed, threatening. He's like, "Oh, hello, everybody. We play act here."
Starlight, you're not. His quote was
running through our lines.
Yeah, you're not supposed to record us running through lines.
That's great.
It was smart,
but
quick on his feet. But he's a psychopath.
I know. At the beginning of this episode, she had basically rallied her entire support group. To picket and campaign for the release of Maeve, who was trapped there. And so they were all out in front of Vought headquarters, basically saying, "You got to release her! You got to release her! You got to release her!" And the district attorney was coming with a search warrant, was going to look for her in the building. And so, of course, what's her name? The CEO, redhead Ashley is like, "Oh my God! We got to move her! And so her and the Deep go and they put Maeve to sleep, in the room. They we got to get her out of here because the district attorney's going to come in and execute a search warrant and look for her. And they put her in the back of a truck and they're like taking her somewhere else. And she's able to escape. No surprise. It was her opportunity to get out of there, right? So we get that at the beginning of the episode. Butcher and Soldier Boy and Huey are driving to New York City to go after Black Noir and Homelander. And Butcher takes out Huey in the bathroom and basically knocks him out and says, "Hey, you look exactly like my little brother." Yeah. And knocks him out. And so to save him from taking the Temp V again. He knows he's willing to put himself at risk, but he doesn't want to put Huey at risk. Right. He
basically saves Huey because he knows that if he takes it again, he's going to be in bad shape. So, yeah, absolutely.
So Huey ends up getting stranded there at this rest area, and Starlight comes to pick him up. And, of course, they reconcile, and he's like, "I'm sorry." They kind of make up, and Starlight says, "Did he tell you? Did he tell you that stuff is killing you, that it's deadly, that, 1 or 2 more doses and you're going to die?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Oh, he saved me. That's why he knocked me out."
Right.
And Starlight's, you're insane.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
But they agree. So then Maeve calls and find out that Maeve is back with the boys. So they all kind of get together, and Mother's Milk and oh, by the way, Kimiko did get the Compound V and had taken it and healed all her wounds. All of her powers are back, so she's back 100%. But they all come to this agreement on a plan that Frenchie had gotten this nerve agent, and they were going to use this nerve agent against Soldier Boy and basically knock him out. That was the one way they were going to take him out. And Maeve was on board. She was going to help. And they were all going to kind of go do this together. And so they go back to the boys' headquarters, and they ambush Butcher, who's there.
Yeah.
And then Maeve turns on him. Basically takes the nerve agent they had in this perfume bottle and chucks it out the window and says, "No, we need to take out Homelander. I'm with Soldier Boy and Butcher. I'm
she
on
hates
this."
Homelander that much.
She wants to take him out, and the rest of the team are like, "What are you guys doing?" And they lock him in the vault in their headquarters, and they head out. They eventually escape, and the boys' team minus Butcher decide, okay, we got to come up with a plan. Half the team, Frenchie and Kimiko, are going to go to the lab in Vought and try to recreate the nerve agent, and the rest of the team are going to go try to stop Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of other things that happen. One of the things that happens is Black Noir does come back.
Yeah.
And what happens to him?
Yeah, Black Noir comes back and he confronts Homelander like, "Hey, I'm back." Obviously he's writing notes.
Holds up a sign.
So it's like,
"Soldier Boy, we must kill him."
Yeah.
And he's not talking.
Then he confronts Black Noir like, "Hey, did you know he was my father?" And he shakes his head, yes. He goes, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "Still must die. Like, we still need to kill him." And they're hugging, and then all of a sudden Homelander kills him.
Eviscerates him.
Yeah, he just completely punches through him and pulls out his guts, and it's just awful. I mean, and that is done. Black Noir is done. He's dead. So they kill Black Noir. Then we mentioned it earlier. There's not many of the 7 left.
Right.
So they've killed off Black Noir, which is wow. That was shocking. But that just shows you what a psychopath Homelander is, and the trajectory of this character and where he's going.
And Homelander goes in and confronts. He sits with A-Train, the Deep, and Ashley, and basically says, I thought, the 7 were the family I never had, and then I got you guys. And we find out Ashley's wearing a wig, and he
makes her take it off.
Got no hair.
Yeah.
And
I think even in the comics, she has this this issue about pulling her hair out.
Yeah.
And that's why she wears a wig, because she's pulled all of
her hair out. Remember there was one scene in a couple episodes ago where she had pulled some hair out.
Yeah,
so that's
big chunk.
Yeah, so she's pulling her hair out, and that's why she's wearing a wig. We find that out. We find out, A-Train tried to get his brother back on his team, but his brother now thinks he's a murderer and doesn't want to have anything to do with him. So he's, basically terrible. Yeah. He tells the Deep, you're going to do whatever I tell you, and he tells the Deep to go do something for him. We find out that he asked him to go kill the vice presidential candidate, and we find out later on why he does that, but Deep goes off and does that. And then Homelander's like, okay, I got to take care of this problem that's coming here. And
he said, he makes a comment to all 3 of them, like, I just killed Black Noir, and I liked him more than all 3 of you put together.
Right.
And they're like, holy
He was like a brother to me.
Yeah. I liked him more than all 3 of you put together.
I know.
That just tells you where they stand. That's hilarious.
Well, and then Butcher and Soldier Boy and Maeve show up. They find Homelander in like the back studio at Vought, and Homelander's like, hey, I'm here. And this is Homelander's attempt to try to connect with Soldier Boy. Say, look, you're my father. You're the only family I have. We should be working together. Stop this fighting. And Soldier Boy
brings out Ryan as his son.
Before he does that, though, Soldier Boy's like, no. He's like, I wish I was around. I wish I was here to raise you, because you wouldn't have turned into such a fucking pussy.
Yeah.
And he just basically...
You're a disappointment.
Right.
Which is what his father told him.
Right. And, and Soldier Boy had given us that story about him, basically growing up in a wealthy family, and his father was always disappointed in him, and that's how he volunteered for the program.
Yeah.
And when after he'd saved all these lives and become a superhero and fought in all these wars, his father still hated him because he told him he cheated. He said he took a shortcut.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No wonder he is the way he is.
But then Homelander pulls a little ace out of his sleeve and brings Ryan out, who we had seen earlier in the episode he had gone to see, and Ryan kind of hugged him, and figured out that Homelander really wanted to.
He doesn't care that he killed his mother, or accidents happen. He kind of convinces him that, look, being who we are, things are going to happen. Sometimes accidents are going to happen, right. And it's okay. No matter what you do or what happens, I'm always going to love you and care for you, which he did get from Butcher.
Right. So, well, and that's, I think, the reason why he was so interested in Homelander being more of a father to him, because he was looking for that from Butcher, and Butcher basically abandoned him. Yeah. And so now he's like, okay, well, if Butcher's not going to do it, I'm gonna go where I can get it. Right. And so he brings Ryan out, says, "This is he tells Soldier, this is your grandson. This is my son. This is your grandson." And Soldier Boy's like, "I don't care." He's like, and then he basically just grabs Homelander, and the two of them start fighting, and Maeve starts fighting him, and it's like, oh, it's on, it's great. Yeah. And eventually, they get to the point where they're going to use Soldier Boy's going to use his powers on Homelander, but Ryan saves him, shoots Soldier Boy with his laser eyes, and then Soldier Boy like throws Ryan across the room. It's like
hurts Ryan,
yeah. And then Homelander goes over to check on him, and Soldier Boy starts using his powers again, and he's going to blast him, and that's when Butcher kind of turns and says, "No, not the boy." I made it. He basically said, "I made a deal with I promised my wife I'd always look out for him. Can't hurt the boy." And so then he tries to stop. So now Butcher is now fighting against Soldier Boy with Homelander, and Maeve says, you're, Homelander, it's you and me, and the two of them start going at it.
Yeah.
And so we've got Butcher and Soldier Boy facing off, and Butcher's obviously powered by the Temp V. He has his strength and his laser eyes. And we've got Maeve and Homelander fighting each other.
Yeah.
And it was epic.
Yeah, that
was awesome.
fighting.
Homelander, basically Maeve is knocking him around and holding her own. Yeah. Until Homelander basically squeezes her eyeball out, which is kind of crazy.
She loses an eye.
Yeah. But, they're fighting, and then, Soldier Boy's, fighting against Butcher, and then Soldier Boy ends up getting the upper hand, and then
kicking his ass.
The boys show up.
Yeah.
So Starlight and Mother's Milk enter the fray. They try to kind of help out, and Huey's in the control room evacuating the whole building. And he thinks about taking the Temp V to help save everybody, but then he comes up with another idea. He turns all the house lights up
to give
in the studio
Starlight more power.
Right. She's able to absorb it and basically blast Soldier Boy.
Stun him enough so that they could try to gas him.
Yep. And Kimiko and Frenchie were able to recreate the nerve agent, bring it upstairs, and they eventually get hold of Soldier Boy and put the mask on him, and to kind of knock him out. And he fights back, and he starts glowing like he's going to explode.
Right.
And Maeve and Homelander are still fighting, but Maeve's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
And so
she stabs Homelander in the ear. I didn't understand that. If he's like that strong, what she stab? Oh, I think she stabbed him in the ear with a piece of Soldier Boy's shield, maybe?
It was a piece of metal. I don't know what it was. Stabbed him got him right in the ear, one of his weak spots, I guess. And she's pretty strong, so whatever. But then ends up, tackling Soldier Boy out of the building as he's going to explode.
Explodes, yeah.
And he blows up, basically saves everybody. And Homelander and Butcher was kind of protecting Ryan, thinking that he was going to blow Ryan up, and he was kind of protecting him. But then Homelander and Ryan kind of walk off.
Yeah, Ryan goes up to Homelander and is like, Dad, I want to leave. And Butcher's like, Ryan, please.
Yeah.
And he just, Dad, let's go. I want to go. And they hold hands and they leave. Again, Homelander walking away from a situation that he could, I guess
he didn't want to kill everybody in front of Ryan, I guess, right? That was part of the thing. So.
Interesting.
And he knew that Butcher saved him and was kind of looking out for him, and he doesn't want Homelander to take Butcher out. As much as he doesn't like, it's anger at Butcher, he still likes him. I think there's part of him that still cares for him. But anyway, then we got some pretty cool end scenes for the episode.
I think they wrapped up the season, closing out some storylines, very interesting storylines, and I think they wrapped up the season great. And they also created a springboard for the next season, I think. So, yeah, Maeve, powerless now, actually survived.
Yeah, that was a big surprise.
Yeah, and no one knows that. Ashley did find out about it, but she erased the tape, so no one really knows about it but the boys and Ashley and her assistant Ashley. And so Maeve, kind of without her eye, has no powers now and is going to go off with her lover and kind of disappear and hide so Homelander can't find her. And then what else happened? Oh, we find out that
Soldier Boy is still alive as well.
Soldier Boy and the CIA has him, and they've gassed him, and they're going to put him in deep freeze, which is interesting. I thought so.
They're keeping him, locked up, but he's still around.
He's still around. He's still alive. And we find out that Butcher has probably 6 months to live, 8 months to live.
No, they said 12 to 18 months.
12 to 18 months at best.
Right.
Which was very interesting.
Yeah, they basically were able to drain all the fluid out of his brain, but they said, you've got 12, maybe 18 months on the outside if you're lucky.
It's irreversible. There's nothing we can do. You got 12 to 18 months.
Right.
In true fashion, he lights up his cigarette and tells the doctor to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And then we go back to the boys' headquarters, and all of the boys' team, Starlight tosses her Starlight uniform in the trash, and they all vote to make her a part of the boys' team. And
Butcher shows up.
And what we see on the television is disturbing. A couple of things. We see that the vice presidential candidate had been killed, and his death was ruled an accident.
Yes.
But then we see that the presidential candidate had selected Victoria Newman as his running mate as the new VP.
A soup. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, she's going to die.
Yeah. Butcher says,
she's going to have to die.
That bitch has got to go.
That bitch is going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's obviously something they're going to be doing next season. And then the final scene was there's a big rally out in front of Vought headquarters, and Homelander drops down, and there's a bunch of, Starlight people and a bunch of Homelander people out there arguing.
And Stormfront, too. There's some Stormfront crazies.
And
the parallels between what's happening politically in this country and with the boys are very close.
Oh, yeah.
The like the Trumpies and the liberals and the Bidenisms and all that my friend Tim pointed that out to me. He drives him crazy, but it literally, the parallels are hilarious. Even some of the Homelanders says how do you like me now, snowflakes? And he's like flicking off, and then it's just so funny. Like Me Too, hashtag Me Too was on some of the Starlight. It's crazy how they play off of that, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and eventually one of the Starlight supporters, takes a can and throws it at Homelander.
And it hits Ryan.
Yeah. And Homelander looks down at Ryan, looks at the person, and then just blasts his head.
Lasers his
head basically.
And everybody's shocked, and Homelander's like, what did I just do?
Yeah, he's like, oh, God, everybody saw that. And then the Homelander people start cheering. Yeah, and he starts smiling, and then you see Ryan with this little, sinister
smirk.
Look.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That was evil, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's going down the wrong
Because
path.
Homelander had brought Ryan down to introduce him to everybody. And
we know Ryan can fly now.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yep. So
good episode.
Setting up for the next season. Yeah, it was great. The
Looking
boys, great
it.
Season. Again, some of the fight sequences and fight scenes between the Supes and the boys were just awesome this year.
Good season.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes, but I think next season will be focused on the election, obviously, and Victoria Newman and what they're going to do about that.
If Ashley's still going to run Vault.
Well, Vought, who's going to be on the 7? We have no idea. And
then we bring Edgar back.
And here's the other thing: is how bad is Ryan going to get before they go through some type of redemption arc with him? Because I think ultimately Ryan is the trump card that the boys are still hoping or holding out hope for to stop Homelander.
Yeah.
But if he's going to end up becoming more and more like Homelander, how far are they going to take that before Ryan realizes he's wrong?
Right.
Something's going to have to happen there.
Yeah.
So, we're looking forward to it. If you're not watching this show, you're crazy. Go back and see every episode of all 3 seasons. It's spectacular. Amazon Prime has hit it out of the park with this one.
Absolutely.
Special effects, content, character development, story.
Yep.
Everything is just
there's nothing lazy about
great.
it. It's high quality.
It's great.
Yeah. Hey, Professor, let's ring the bell. Show's over, and so is school.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
All right.
Thanks, YouTube.
Let's hit this reset button.
Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate.